Oh, you know what time it is, huh? Do you? Wait, you don't? It's time for more sanding, because after all, gluing and all the sanding of the body wasn't enough, because we need to add a bit of a, relief cuts, like the belly cut, the thick thigh cut, the neck transition, the neck shape in general, the volute, and all sorts of shenanigans later on. So now it's basically a sanding special again. Aren't we having fun here? And finally, we're ready to start painting the guitar. Everything has been sanded, it's now smooth, no wild deviations, very nice. But before we actually start painting, we need to do a bit of masking, like covering up the dimensionally critical holes, like the screen and this holes and, a couple other features. And after a while of painting, because we had to do a gloss on the top and a matte finish on the side, we're finally ready to start scraping the edge binding out of the paint, just to expose the nice binding plus the LEDs buried beneath it. So we could go the old-fashioned way with a scraper, but that has the great potential of scraping things up. But wait, there are tools out there to help you scrape the binding around the guitar. But those usually are pricey and just a stupid piece of metal with just a slit cut into it and a couple of screws. And they want to charge you crazy fees just for that piece of metal. And that is when I decided to make my own set of scrapers. One for the side of the binding, just like that. And the other one for the top of the binding. To make things easier, I had a couple of bearings, just to make life easier so I don't over scrape things, so I can adjust. So without further ado, let's get this binding out of the paint. It's been a long time since we spoke, so let's do a bit of a rundown what happened. I showed you my fancy scrapers. I used the fancy scrapers on the binding, worked out perfectly. Couple of issues were mostly on my part, since I started a bit late on the scraping. Couple of cracked paint, but it's mostly hardly noticeable, except maybe on the neck. I've also made myself a jig to help me scrape binding on the neck, so I don't have to worry about any bumps in the finish. It's just a nice flat line for me to scrape on. In other news, we also polished the top of the guitar. I know it's not perfect, but with the tools and things I have at my disposal, it's far better than I expected. I still have a couple of micro lines, but worrying about those issues is kind of irrelevant, at least for me, because it's gonna get scraped, like you're gonna get those scrapes in like a week's worth of playing, so I'm not gonna stress about it, because we still have a guitar to freaking assemble. So let's start assembling, maybe start talking about 3D printed parts. Now hi and welcome to Fusion 360. I'm just gonna do a quick overview of the whole build, just so you got a better idea when I'm going to assemble the guitar, how the sausage is made. Basically, the guitar is assembled with 10 3D printed parts that should fit the guitar something like this. I know it looks like quite a bit of a mess, but I can explain. Let's start with the PC case, which is the most changed part here. I added an audio interface, which would allow me to get the sound from the guitar straight into the computer. You could also record or use virtual amps like bias effects or something like that, the program of your choice, to change the sound. I'm using an Apogee Jam Plus audio interface. It's a small interface that fits neatly into the exhaust of the PC. On the back of the PC case, we have an interface that will allow me to transfer all the I/O, like the double USB-Cs and an aux combination jack and a power switch button to the front of the guitar, like right here where the display is going to be, and right here where we have the little interface with a power switch, an aux input, and an input for the guitar itself, which will also kind of broadcast the signal to the Fuji Jam, which will then transfer it here. Also, there were a couple of changes on the screen carrier. Now it includes a little cutout for the truss rod, which will allow me to adjust the truss rod. Underneath it, we have a cover / an ESP board carrier. We want to cover a bit of a mess because there's going to be a lot of wires from the piezo pickup bridge and the rest of the guitar, so we're going to cover that mess with this cover. And on the back side of the cover, we have a couple of standoffs for the ESP board, in which our little LED strips will be plugged in for our binding. And to top it all off, a fancy cover with the logo and a bit of a grill so the electronics can still breathe. So at the end, basically quite a bit of a mess, but we can cover this mess with the guitar body, so there's nothing to worry about. So let's get to assembling of the guitar. And the build is finally completed. Everything works. Surprisingly, the LEDs, they look brighter than ever before. The guitar. It does guitar, yes, we have pickups, even though I mentioned there's no place for pickups on this guitar. But you know, with a little bit of ingenuity, we fixed that. Now there's a wide variety of pickups that you can have on this guitar. For example, your classical humbucker setup for a Les Paul guitar. Or the wall of humbuckers for all you humbucking lovers. The single wall gradient for all you single coil lovers. The Humbucker V Special, a quite a unique look. The Motherbucker, for all the fat tones you will ever need. The Kill Bill Special combo of pickups. And finally, the Toyota Tacoma. But having sealed pickups isn't the only thing this guitar can do. It can also do gaming. Wanna play some games? Just one little game. Just a bit of Cyberpunk. Maybe like the whole DLC? Maybe.
Let's see what's here.
And just like that, we defeated the Cyber Psycho. On a guitar. On a table. With a controller, which I never use, as you could probably see. Since we tested the PC capabilities of the guitar, now let's test the guitar capabilities of the, well, guitar. And now it's finally time to play the guitar. Now, as you can see, I'm not plugged in to anything. I'm just gonna plug in this little doodad so that the piezo bridge system works. And that's about all this guitar needs, because now I just plug directly back into the guitar itself. I'm using bias effects. Some free license came with the Apuji Jam that I have built into the guitar itself. I mean, if I got a free license, then might as well use it. So, let's get to playing. Something, I don't know just what yet, just some random things. But first things first, we gotta address the elephant in the room. No, not me, the other elephant. Some viewers were cautioned in the previous video and suggested, hey, there could be some serious feedback from the computer and the fans and all the shenanigans going inside of the guitar. Let's see how the guitar sounds. Now this is all the noise the guitar makes if I'm not grounding it with my own hands. Sounds a bit terrible, but then again, you just flick one pedal. Now these are the sound capabilities of this guitar. mainly my playing skills, because they're not that good. Again, you can see it plays. But I also try to do one gag, using the guitar as the controller for the computer itself. But since I started designing the guitar, the software for such shenanigans has gone paywalled, so I'm not gonna waste $60 for a joke that I'm gonna use once and then never again. So just imagine me, a real gamer, pulling off this gamer stunt but with a guitar. And also you could probably see that the guitar is reacting to my voice as I'm talking, because I have a microphone in the guitar that's picking up the sound, and it's definitely not spying on the player or anyone else for that matter. So this is going to do it for this year's Grey Guitar build-off. It's a fun build, definitely a stupid one, but I would like to maybe change a couple of things, like for example the LED is not reaching the end here. But kind of the biggest disappointment of this guitar in general, it is that it's like Les Paul. But now that doesn't matter anymore, so thank you for joining me for another Grey Guitar build-off video. Next year is gonna be a bit toned down, because I already have some plans on what I'm gonna do. So anyways, without further ado, thank you for joining me, and see you next time.